People say heroes arrive when you least expect them, but no one in Willow Creek could have imagined that the day a woman in a wheelchair was pushed to tears while her loyal dog was shot in cold blood, a silent figure in a Navy SEAL hoodie would step out of the shadows, carrying a past darker than anything the Bullies had ever faced. What happened next would shake the entire town, and remind the world what real courage looks like. Willow Creek was a quiet American town, the kind where neighbors waved over white picket fences and children rode bikes until sunset. But for Emily Carter, quiet didn't mean peaceful. At 27, Emily had already lived through more pain than most people twice her age. A drunk driver accident had stolen her ability to walk, leaving her in a blue wheelchair she often joked was faster than any car in town. She tried to keep her humor alive, but deep inside she felt the weight of loneliness pressing on her every single day. Her constant companion was Max, a loyal golden Labrador who had been trained to help her with everything from opening doors to calming her during panic attacks. Max wasn't just a service dog, he was her family, her stability, her reason to get out of bed, but not everyone saw it that way. A group of local troublemakers, Derek, Kyle, and Mason, had grown bored with vandalizing abandoned houses and breaking mailboxes. Emily's wheelchair and gentle nature made her an easy target. They taunted her whenever they saw her rolling past the old town square. Sometimes they mocked her disability. Sometimes they threw soda cups at Max. At first, Emily tried to ignore them. Then she tried reporting them. Nothing changed. One cold afternoon, as Emily rolled past the grocery store, the boys blocked her path. Derek smirked and placed a boot on her footrest, pushing her wheelchair backward slightly. "Where do you think you're going, Wheels?" he sneered. Max growled softly, placing himself between Emily and the bullies. The tension thickened in the air. Emily's voice trembled, but she faced them anyway. "Leave me alone, Derek. Please." He laughed, a high, ugly sound. "Or what? Your dog gonna fight for you?" Kyle lifted something heavy wrapped in a cloth. Emily's heart dropped when she realized it was a small pellet gun, illegal, modified, and dangerous. "It's just a warning," Kyle muttered, raising it at Max. "No. Don't you dare." Emily screamed, but the shot rang out before she could finish her plea. Max yelped, a sound Emily would never forget, and collapsed by her wheelchair, her world shattered in an instant. Emily's hands shook uncontrollably as she held Max, crying and begging him to stay awake. The boys panicked and ran, but not before Derek spat on the ground near her. "Should have kept your stupid dog inside." Emily sobbed in the middle of the sidewalk, her heartbroken cries echoing through the empty street. The world blurred. Everything felt cold. People were too far away to help. She felt tiny, helpless, and completely alone until she heard footsteps behind her. A quiet voice, a deep, calm voice, spoke, "Step away. I've got him." When Emily looked up, she saw a tall man kneeling beside Max. He wore a faded Navy SEAL hoodie, hood pulled low. His hands were steady, his eyes sharp as steel. "I'm Logan Hayes," he said softly. "I can help." Emily didn't know then, but the bullies had just chosen the wrong day to hurt the wrong woman, and Logan Hayes was about to show them exactly why. Logan Hayes had always believed that coming back home would bring him peace, but peace was a language he no longer understood. The Navy SEAL hoodie he wore wasn't a fashion choice, it was a reminder of everything he had survived and everything he had lost. His days overseas were filled with missions where split-second decisions meant life or death, but here, in the quiet town of Willow Creek, he felt like a ghost wandering through a world that had moved on without him. He didn't know Emily Carter until the moment he found her sobbing on the sidewalk, clutching her wounded dog as if her own life depended on it. Yet something in her breaking voice struck a deep chord within him. Maybe it was because he knew that sound. The sound of losing hope. The sound of feeling powerless. The sound he had heard too many times from soldiers taking their last breath. Now, as Logan carried Max in his strong arms toward the small clinic at the edge of town, Emily rolled her wheelchair beside him, silently battling her fear. The cold evening wind stung her cheeks, but she barely felt it. All she could focus on was Max, his fur matted with blood, his breathing shallow. Logan moved with controlled urgency, every step steady, almost military. Emily looked up at him, noticing the sharpness in his expression, the kind of focus someone has when they've trained to run into danger, not away from it. Inside the clinic, Logan didn't leave Emily's side. He sat quietly, elbows on his knees, eyes locked on the exam room door. Emily kept glancing at him, unsure why a stranger cared so deeply. When she whispered, "You don't have to stay," Logan simply shook his head. "I know," he said. "But you shouldn't have to sit through this alone." Hours passed. Emily's hope flickered like a candle in the wind. Then the vet finally returned with a tired, gentle smile. "Max is stable," she said. "The pellet missed his lung by an inch. He's strong. He'll make it." Emily's breath collapsed with relief. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but this time they weren't from heartbreak, they were from gratitude. She covered her face as her shoulders shook, overwhelmed by the flood of emotion. Logan didn't touch her, didn't try to comfort her the way most people did. Instead, he gave her space. His quiet presence was comfort enough, steady, protective, grounding. When she finally spoke, her voice broke. "They shot him because of me, because I can't fight back." Logan leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "You survived something that took your legs," he said. "That alone makes you stronger than all three of them combined." Emily blinked back tears. "Then why does it feel like they're winning?" "Because no one has stood up to them," Logan replied, his voice cold and steady. "Until now." The next morning, Logan moved through town with a purpose Emily had never seen before. The fog hadn't yet lifted, and the streets were still quiet, but Logan walked like a man who had already made up his mind. He wasn't looking for conflict, but he wasn't avoiding it either. He found the three bullies exactly where he expected, behind the abandoned gas station where they usually bragged and smoked cheap cigarettes. Kyle noticed him first and nudged Derek. Mason stiffened, the smirk disappearing from his face. Logan didn't shout, didn't posture. He simply stood there, tall and silent, his presence more threatening than any weapon. "You boys want to explain why you terrorized a woman in a wheelchair?" he asked, voice low enough to chill the blood. Derek scoffed, though fear trembled at the edge of his voice. "Look, old man, it was a joke." Logan closed the distance before Derek could finish. "He didn't touch him, he didn't have to." The look in Logan's eyes, sharp as broken glass, froze the boy in place. "In my world," Logan said quietly, "cowards who hurt the defenseless never walk away without consequences." The boys shuffled back, their bravado crumbling. "You're going to apologize to Emily," Logan continued. "You're going to pay for Max's treatment. And you're going to fix every single thing you've broken in this town. If you don't," he stepped closer, voice deadly calm, "I will personally make sure you understand what real accountability feels like." Kyle swallowed hard. Mason looked ready to cry. Derek tried to hold onto his pride, but one look at Logan's expression, cold, unwavering, battle-hardened, and the fight drained out of him. "We'll fix it," Derek stammered. "We're sorry." Logan didn't nod. He simply stared until he was sure they meant it. Only then did he turn away, leaving them pale and shaken. That afternoon, Logan returned to Emily's home. She was sitting on her porch in her blue wheelchair, Max resting beside her with a small bandage on his side. When Logan approached, Max wagged his tail weakly. Emily looked at Logan with surprise. "You talked to them?" "I talked," Logan said. "They listened." Emily smiled, a real one this time, warm and filled with something she hadn't felt in a long time. "Safety, you didn't have to go through all that trouble for me." Logan shrugged. "Heroes don't choose the moment. The moment chooses them." Max barked softly, as if agreeing. Emily reached down and stroked Max's fur, then looked back at Logan with soft, grateful eyes. "Thank you, for everything." Logan didn't say anything for a moment. He simply looked at her, this courageous woman who had endured so much and still managed to smile. Something shifted quietly inside him. Something he thought he had lost forever. Purpose. A reason to stay. A reason to fight again, not on a battlefield, but for someone who deserved protection. And as the sun dipped behind the trees, painting the sky in deep orange, Logan Hayes realized something he hadn't felt in years. He wasn't a ghost anymore. That he was alive, and he wasn't going anywhere.